I'm old, I'm out of touch, I think I might hate fashion. Let me tell you what I mean. What's driving this crash out of epic proportions?
It's rule number 1, if you're old, you never admit to it. What are you doing, dude?
So I was looking at my YouTube analytics, a thing I do occasionally to learn how I can slopify my content to a greater degree in honor of the almighty algo, and I saw that about 70% of my audience is in the 18 to 34-year-old demographic, the key demo, as even older people than me in suits call it. So I started my channel when I was in my late 20s, which puts me now at the upper end of that key demo. So, law of averages, math, my usual viewer is probably mid-20s. So you may be living through your very first hype cycle, or at most, maybe you remember the hypebeast boom from when you were like a freshman in high school buying $20 box logo t-shirts on Mercari. So I have lived through a few of these ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and it has left me as confident as humanly possible that I despise fashion. Strong words for a fashion channel, right? So what am I gonna do? Nuke my YouTube account? No. Get ready for another cardinal sin of YouTubing, dictionary definition. So what is fashion? It is the prevailing style, as in dress, during a particular time. And that's the thing I hate, all right? Like, I get it. It's fun to chase trends for a while. There's a particular sense of satisfaction that comes from doing exactly the right thing at exactly the right time, like getting a beautiful mate in chess or something, you know? But the problem is, there is no such thing as checkmate in this game, right? It's hollow, a perpetual treadmill, it's Sisyphus, you know? And once you've played enough rounds of that game, it stops feeling fun. You're not playing the game, it's playing you. Your hobby, this fashion hobby we're all in to some degree, exists so that every couple months some writer at High Snobiety or GQ can earn their paycheck by writing an article about how thin scarves will win you the current round of the game, or heeled boots will win you the next round. So yes, I stand by it, okay? I hate fashion. In fact, there's a certain pattern that plays out every single time I go clothes shopping in Miami that I think exemplifies this. So one place I always stop when I'm in Miami because they sell some cool brands I like, it's a store called Market, right? Good store, good people, but every time I go, the owner in there, he asks me like,
"So, what you into these days? You know, what's new?"
And it feels like such an innocuous question, but there is a pressure to it because I know I'm not the guy that's out there hunting every single new trend, every new designer. Like, what am I going to tell him? That I've been diving further into 2017 Maxfield Gallery era ERD or into a particular season of early 2000s Dior Homme? No, because that's not the correct answer to his question. Like, that's not what he's getting at. So I'm just going to remove myself from the question entirely. I hate the premise. So if I hate fashion, which I do, I think I've established this, what am I interested in? What am I doing all of this for? Well, I'm doing it because I hate fashion. Now, what do I mean by that? Like, I really don't want to think about the clothes I'm wearing, and I think a lot of people into fashion really like the thinking about it. They like looking at what's going on and seeing what's next and keeping up and asking questions about what they're wearing, what other people are wearing, what designers are doing. I don't necessarily interest myself with that. I want to figure out exactly what I am into, what I think looks best, so that I don't actually have to think about it. And this gets into a certain idea that I think is quite popular among a certain type of people who are into fashion, even though at its core it's almost anti-fashion, and that is the concept of uniforms. Join the Patreon, exclusive videos, exclusive sales, exclusive Discord. Join the Patreon, join the Patreon, join the Patreon. Link is in the description. And when I say the word uniform, you're probably thinking in that like minimalist way. Like you're probably thinking of a closet hanger with like 3 pieces of clothing on it, like a pair of jeans, a black t-shirt, and a button-down shirt and maybe like a jacket for the winter, like a black zip-up jacket, and that's a uniform, right? That's what a fashion uniform is. And sure, like in a vacuum, in the most exact sense of the word, I guess that is properly a fashion uniform, but that's not my kind of fashion uniform. I am a clothing uniform maximalist, if you gotta put a word on it. Like many of you are probably looking at me right now and being like, how could this dude possibly be talking about uniforms of clothing when he picks up so much stuff? He has like 100-something pieces of ERD clothing. You can't have a uniform and have that many pieces of clothing. But think about this, okay? Why would I pick up 130 or something pieces from a specific designer? It's because I'm honing in on that uniform, that style that I'm building for myself. It is kind of getting rid of the clutter, the excess that doesn't fit into that, and broadening that particular uniform. So I'm not interested in fashion. I'm not interested in the new. I'm not interested in the trends. I'm interested in testing the boundaries of this thing that I consider my style or my uniform, finding the kind of edges of the box that I'm building for myself so I know that everything contained within this box is something that I love and looks good on me and that I really don't need to think about. And I feel like this is gonna like explode some people's minds, but we understand this in other ways, like my jewelry, right? I have my standard jewelry stack. Every once in a while, I'll find something I really love more than something I already have, and one will cycle out. But for the most part, I've got like these 8 or 10 rings or whatever, and that's my jewelry, and I pretty much wear it every time I wear rings. It's the same stuff on the same fingers in the same order, and it makes me feel good. It's like an armor or something, and I want that in my clothing as well, and I don't think it's shameful to say that, and to forego all of the pomp and circumstance of the churn and slop of fashion. Like, there is no justifiable reason to have to release like 70 looks worth of clothing twice a year, maybe more if you do like resort or cruise collections or pre-collections or whatever. The only reason it exists is so that designers and factories have things to make, marketers have things to market, stores have things to sell, and press have things to write about and create videos about and things like that. There is zero argument you can make that people actually need this much stuff. But like I said, I am a maximalist. I'm not going to pretend that what I'm doing is like the most sustainable, ethical thing in the world. No, it's not ethical at all. It's just what I want to be doing and what feels right to me. But I do think there's something really interesting there in testing the boundaries of my style, because I really have like two lives. I have my casual everyday life where I'm going out to restaurants, I'm playing in bands, I'm making these videos, right? And then I do have a professional life where maybe I'm sometimes going to an office or a professional event, and these things do have their own unique uniforms that are associated with them. But what I'm really trying to do is close the gap between those two things as much as humanly possible, so I feel fully like myself in all of those different settings. But that is a really difficult thing to pull off because these are very different areas. Even within them, I might be doing different things with different vibes. So for me, I do a lot of like testing the boundaries of my uniform, and I'm often picking up things kind of hoping that it will fit in, but not always knowing. And I've got to take these chances to keep up and figure out how to merge these worlds under one roof. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of those pieces I've been picking up to test that stuff that maybe I wasn't 100% confident was going to work, and I will let you know. Did it work? Did it not work? Why did it or did it not? And what do I do in these situations to figure out if they actually work for me or not? And what do I do when they do work? What do I do when they don't? I think there's some interesting stuff to dive into and some really, really cool pieces from some fantastic designers. So buckle in, let's check them out. So I feel like one of the most consistent and reliable things you can do when looking to build a uniform is go for SLP clothing, Saint Laurent Paris. I feel like Hedi Slimane is like the GOAT of that brand, to be fair, other than the king himself, Mr. Yves Saint Laurent. But even Anthony Vaccarello, the more recent stuff, while not as like cool, quote unquote, they're my fingers, still incredibly wearable and fits into a sort of rock and roll aesthetic very well. So with that in mind, I've got multiple Saint Laurent pieces here that I've picked up. The first couple here are a little bit more, I don't know, wearable, everyday wearable, casual. This one is crazy. I don't even know what to call this. I mean, it's definitely a sweater. It kind of looks like a hoodie, but it's not a hoodie. It's just got like the biggest neck of all time. Like whatever that is, I'm not totally sure, but I like it. And it's got like drawstrings to pull tight. This thing's sick, but even sicker is the fabrication. Like that is just unstoppable amounts of fuzz. And that's because this one is a nice little wool mohair blend, you know it. But even so, it's great for like this time of year because you can see like it's thick and it's fuzzy, but it's not heavy. Like if you look through it, you can see the light through there. Like the weave is quite open. And then another interesting little, I don't know, upscale, downscale, hybrid piece are these chukka boots right here. I feel like I've never said that out loud. Chukka, there's no other way to pronounce that, right? I'm not crazy, chukka boots. Anyway, they're black suede, they're a bit worn, but who gives a fuck? They were cheap and they're still cool. But you know, like open, lacing, derby style, well made, super comfy. But the thing that really takes these over the top, and this is like pure Eddie era stuff, is the leopard print pony hair lining interior that they've got going on. Like that's just absurd. There's no need to do that, but they did it, and I respect that. I feel like the perpetual history of Hedi Slimane's design at every brand he's been with has been him being like, I want to do this really cool thing, and then being like, but that's not necessary, it's so expensive, and him being like, but I want to. They're like, but no one will ever see that it's leopard pony hair inside, and he's like, but I'll know, and that's what matters. And another thing that I deeply love about SLP stuff is that they're just as good at being dressed up as they are at being dressed down and casual. And that's something very, very important to me, is to have a uniform that doesn't make me feel like two completely different people in my professional life versus my like everyday casual life, right? So this shirt, this one is like pure Eddie, you know right away, like that's Hedi Slimane era. This one's, I believe, 2016. It's a black viscose shirt. You know, he was really good at these silky, it's not silk, but these kind of, you know, open, thin, flowy, button-down shirts, very like skinny rock and roll, right? And like, who else but Eddie could make just like a simple polka dot shirt look so sexy? I love that. And then this one's much newer. This is a 2023 pair of wool dress pants, just like pleated dress pants with a tapered leg, but they look so damn good. Like beautiful pleats here. The fabrication is great. It's pure wool. You can see it's a bit like fleecy, right? And then like some serious cuffs down at the ankles as well. And then I really am just like all over the place because in my efforts to find this uniform, I'll be going from Hedi Slimane rock and roll stuff to pure on crazy Japanese archive stuff like this pair of jeans, pants, I don't know what you want to call it, by Kimri. Now I've had some people be like, what are you talking about when I call it Kimri Japanese archive? Because like it's Indonesian really, but by like a Japanese person, so whatever, Japanese archive, it's fine, but like, damn, these are sick, right? So I believe these are technically like a pair of Crush jeans, but they're really more like chino pants because it's not denim. It's like a cotton twill, I guess you would say. Well, that's some pants, you feel me? That ain't denim. But as with all things Kimri, the details are insane. And I would say over the past year or so, I have come to appreciate Kimri much more than its kind of like sister competitor Indonesian Japanese archive brand 14th Edition, because I think since relaunching 14th Edition, the quality, I just haven't felt has been there, but the Kimri quality feels very solid to me. So starting right at the top, like rivets with braided leather ties to tighten it, with belt loops too, so you got tons of options for tightening, and that is like fringed at the end with this sort of like metal beading to keep it shut, the kind of like Mexican influence coming in. But then the best part, right, the snakeskin. Oh my God, dude, that's so good. So you can see sewn down are these like patches, right? And inside this one, that's a big old patch of snakeskin. God damn. Oh, it looks good. All right, and then you've got another patch right here, just kind of coming through to some backing of the same material. And then the last part that I think is so sick about this is the like overlock stitching at these kind of angular seams. Like if you follow those down, damn, those lines are crazy. So Kimmery stuff in general is just nuts, and this is one of like the first like big pieces I've had from them, and that snake skin especially is like what takes it over the edge. Now, I would say one of the greatest constants in the uniform that I've tried to craft for myself is the use of leather, and more specifically, leather jackets. Like, I'm definitely perpetually on the search for that perfect rotation of leather jackets, and that search led me to this jacket in particular. And one brand I've gotten really into, especially in recent months, is the Japanese brand Black Means, and that's who did this gorgeous green leather single rider's jacket. Oh God, where do I even begin? I mean, the color on this is so good. This kind of like army olive green is maybe my single favorite color, period. And I'm not usually a gold guy, but finishing it with the gold hardware is such a good choice here. Like, just aesthetically incredibly pleasing. Button shoulder flaps, beautifully shaped collar, quilted on the inside. These classic kind of, I don't know, what would these be? These are like old Talon zippers maybe, but very kind of like vintage focus, vintage inspired, oversized YKK zipper, double belted at each side. Love to see. ERD recently did this with the rose buckles. Zip sleeves with those same kind of like dangling beaded zippers, and button flap down at the bottom of the hem as well. So this is like the clean, simple, kind of like dressed up version of a leather jacket for me, but there are many types of leather jackets I love, you know? And so in my searches, I found myself looking for a sort of more rugged and authentic double rider jacket. And looking at this, you may be thinking like, this is an old ERD jacket, one of the ones that like Justin Reed charges 10 grand for or whatever. And the answer is no. I mean, I kind of wish it was, but I also don't, because this is better, maybe? You tell me, let's find out. So this one I actually got in a trade with a viewer of the channel. This is not something I was like like I knew I wanted something like this, but it wasn't fully on my radar. I wasn't like on the hunt for it properly, but it kind of fell into my lap, and I'm so glad that it did. So this right here is a legit, authentic, used biker club jacket. You know, this was used by a real biker, vintage. I believe it was being used heavily like in the 70s, but it is even older than that. Like, this is a very vintage piece from Sears, actually, believe it or not. But you know what they say, they don't make it like they used to. Like, this is legit USA made, good leather jacket that is very road worn, hand studded, and not with like the baby Joanne fabric studs or Amazon studs that you might see on stuff today. I love the placement actually around the snap button there. It looks so good, especially from a distance. Speaking of zippers, this is like the even more authentic version of the ones that we saw on the last Black Means jacket. Like, god damn, those hanging like chain zippers. That might actually be my favorite detail. I am like a zipper fiend, all right? Using actually Serval zippers. But the back has some sick details too. Obviously, hand-painted skull on the back, first of all, and then you'll see leather patches with stamped lettering in them. And these, if anybody knows what they are, they have these like flowers in the corners, but I'm going to assume that these are specific to the biker club that this rider came from. I haven't been able to figure it out personally myself. And then lastly, I don't even understand how this happened, but both sleeves at the back, I mean, I guess it was just so heavily worn. These are like hand stitched back on in the sickest way. Anyway, just the details on this thing are so crazy. It's a really cool one to add to the collection. Probably one of the most unique pieces I own. Like, most of my stuff is designer. You know what I mean? It's stuff that's made in some level quantities. This is one of one, authentically so. But then sometimes inauthenticity is the most authentic thing. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, this is not an authentic vintage Blondie t-shirt. By the way, one of like the great bands of our time, or even before our time, whatever. This is a t-shirt by Made Worn, and I don't know how familiar viewers of my channel are with Made Worn, but they do like the most authentic, inauthentic vintage clothing that exists in the modern age, I would say. And I think they maybe get dismissed by the type of people that, I don't know, are into some of the similar stuff that I am, you know, like ERD type stuff, but that's probably because they do actual just like band t-shirts. They do kind of like one-to-one remakes essentially, or reinterpretations of actual vintage pieces. And you could kind of clown on that, or you could say like there's a purity to it, but they have a truly like freakish commitment to replicating the vintage process. Like the fabric is perfect, the wear is perfect, even like the worn tags is perfect, the single stitch is perfect, the cut, the kind of slightly more like baby doll cut is perfect, the graphic, the way that it's worn is natural and correct. Like ERD, Pally, whoever, right? Eat your hearts out, because this is the most legit fake vintage clothing that's ever been made. All made in USA, all that good stuff that people care about, and for a lower price than any of the brands that we've been talking about in this video. So like, do I suggest it? I don't know. I feel like weird suggesting. I don't know why I feel weirder recommending this than I do like ERD or whatever, but I do. But when it comes to like a band tee for a band that I'm actually into, you know, it's Blondie or the Ramones or whatever, like I'm down with it. I will pay the price for this. It feels like a good purchase to me. Now, I do think it's really important, even when you're building your uniform, is to like never rest on your laurels. And I feel like that kind of goes against what many people think of as the purpose to create a uniform for yourself, like, so you don't have to think about it at all. But I do think it's really important to like keep testing the boundaries, the edges of what constitutes your uniform, what fits within that box that you created for yourself, or else you just kind of get stale and then fashion isn't even fun anymore. And Balmain by Christophe de Carnat, which is what we have here with this camo t-shirt. And I don't even know if this fits into my uniform. I'm not usually like a camo person. The fit is a bit more oversized than what I'm used to, but you know, heavily distressed, that kind of thing that I'm into. The wear is really nice. This kind of like digital print, but very organic at the same time, the raw hem. And I just feel like that era of Balmain that Christophe de Carnat worked out, it is something that I desperately want to fit into my uniform. So I'm always gonna try and at least see if I can make it work, because some of these pieces do and some of them don't. And I'm not sure with this one yet. And maybe if he were to catch me on a different day, I'd say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I've been diving into the archives trying to find vintage Jean-Paul Gaultier Homme pieces to get into, which is what we have here. And like this one, I have no question that this one fits into the uniform that I've built with myself, and let me show you why. So this is, I believe, a 90s pair of corduroy pants, and first of all, this perfectly straddles the line between the like dressed up and dressed down thing that I'm always trying to make work for myself. It is super high-waisted, almost like a sailor's cut. Like I do have some vintage sailor pants that kind of have similarities to these, but like super high-waisted with all of the buttons, these kind of diagonal pockets, button closure. Very much don't make them like they used to with the split back. The fabric is like god tier velvety corduroy. And then since it has a super high waist, it then has these super, super long tapering legs that get down to just the craziest ankles you've ever seen, that again fit so well into my vibe where I'm getting into the Japanese archive type stuff, right? Because they taper down and then they flare out at the very bottom, but if you wanted to, you could flare them even more, because these are laced up with, oh my God, these gorgeous X's and these like rivets here, metal, and the way that it opens and curves outwards just cut so well. So you could have these fully open and flared if you wanted to, and then you get to show off the leather lining, this like, I don't know, burgundy, red, brown lining. Oh my Lord. This thing's crazy. So like, good Lord, even though I'm not like a JPG collector properly, when I can find a piece that fits into the uniform I'm building, I'm gonna fit it into the uniform I'm building, because goddamn, this stuff is nice. And then there's stuff that's really like at the outermost bounds of what could fit into my uniform. Like for example, Bossy stuff. I have like the purest love-hate relationship with Bossy. Like I do think he's an authentic guy and he loves what he does and he does it really well, but I still legitimately haven't figured out if it works for me, because there are a lot of people that I just are not my type of person, that are the bossy type of person, but then I like quite a bit of it at the same time, and I do think it's coming from an authentic place. But on the other side of it, with bossy stuff, it's like I am running the best like arbitrage scam with bossy stuff, because when I do find something that I'm not into, I do think I like this one, but if I wasn't, I could just be like, yo, buy low, sell high, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people that have bossy stuff that just like don't know what they have, they'll let it go stupid cheap, and then I turn around and can find people who actually know what it is and like 10x my money occasionally. So listen, bossy, thank you, you're paying my bills. And then you have something that like perfectly straddles two different lines of love and hate. Like, these are sneakers by Boris Bijan-Saberi, who is like one of the best dark avant-garde designers out there. But then these are collab with Salomon, which is a sneaker I have avoided so desperately. Like, I've tried as hard as I can to not get into like the like sporty hikey sneaker thing, because it just never gelled with me. But I recognize that if you're gonna wear sneakers in this day and age, like, this is kind of the cool thing to wear. So I figured I'd give it a try. And if I was gonna get into some Salomons or whatever, I guess these are the ones to get into. So I'm gonna give them a try, because they're kind of like bandaged in a way, like not literally, but that's kind of the vibe of these. And then going up, and then this kind of lace closure, it's techie but dark at the same time. So with something like this, I'm kind of just gonna give it my best shot, and I have to admit they are very comfortable. Like, this is the puffiest tongue I've ever felt. Like, there's some, I don't know, it feels sporty in a nice way, and it feels like they're going for comfort in a way that many other sneakers aren't. So, and functionality too. So I'm gonna give it a try. Let me know what you think of like this vibe stuff, because I'm so on the fence about it, man. I really am. But yeah, I'm giving it a shot. And one of the things that you just have to accept when you're trying to find the boundaries of your uniform is you have to be willing to fail sometimes. Like, you have to be willing to get stuff that might not work, such as a gorgeous pair of light wash Saint Laurent made in Japan jeans that have a waist that's just like an inch too big for me. God damn it. Or a pair of cut and sew Mihara Yasuhiro jeans. Like, look at the beauty of that cut across the top. These ones that are just like a bit too cropped for me. Like, those are like mid-calf for me. Very unfortunate, but they're gorgeous. Or like a multi-$1,000 bomber jacket by Bossy that has one of the craziest woven materials I've ever seen for the body there, that has like sequins at the front and at the back with a quilted lining and cashmere sleeves, for God's sake, that just turned out to not be for me. Like, you've just got to be willing to try this stuff, and just make sure that you have an avenue to return it if it doesn't work for you, or be like me and have a Grailed and all these platforms where you can sell it, which is exactly what I'm doing with these. So make sure you check my shop if you want any of these, if you want any of the other hundreds of things I've posted that are just as crazy or crazier. That's my personal way out. So, but you gotta be willing to do it. All right, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed getting a deeper dive into like the day-to-day of how I interact with clothing and how I exist within this ecosystem, because I do think it is unique among people with this sort of hobby. You know, the press, the media, YouTubers, influencers, whatever. I feel like most of them don't exist within fashion in quite the way that I do, and that probably has something to do with my age and how long I've been around and the very specific interests that I have and the subcultures that I've lived within, right? So I certainly look forward to knowing what you think. Do you like videos like this? Do you like more of the proper essay type of videos? I love to do really whatever you're interested in, as long as I'm interested in it too, which I think I've made pretty clear in this video. Anyway, thank you for watching. Join the Patreon. Got a great community there. I love you all. Peace.